sound and music were two really important parts of how we kind of knew that from the start. The music, I was lucky to have my collaborator, Paul E. Francis, who I worked with on my first film. And we had a great relationship from that. And the one thing we talked about was not having a generic monster movie score. I didn't just want a horror film soundtrack that was generic, that just felt like it was in loads of other movies. So we kind of talked a lot about interesting references of what can we do that's kind of quite cool, quite current, quite contemporary. It's a little bit different to what's been done before, but not so weird that it doesn't work within which essentially is kind of like a gothic traditional Hammer type horror.
I was very much influenced on this by bands rather than film composers per se. For me, I was listening to a lot of Radiohead, Goldfrapp, Portishead, bands like those. We wanted to stay away from generic modern horror scores and avoid all the cliches and traps that come with them. So what we did really was, we harked back to the 80s, like an 80s approach, the 80s way of scoring films. With that being said, that would be the way we use the orchestral elements as well as what the style of synthesizers would use. I didn't want to create a typical theme in the sense of a certain melodic structure. I wanted to come up with something more of a motif or a chord sequence that I could develop and maybe put different melodies on that, and play with that and explore that, so we could develop it throughout the film.
He's quite an interesting composer because he kind of doesn't go for the standard score kind of thing, but has a lot of raspy elements and slightly off-tune stuff, and that often blends quite nicely with the sound design elements, especially on the outside scenes. And then it's all about supplementing each other and working together, and sometimes the howling of the winds are melting with the composition and kind of build a whole thing. And sometimes I can take myself back and let the music do its thing. There's whole scenes we had to rebuild from scratch with ADR because there was just too much going on the set, and it all makes sense when you're on the set, have people screaming and shouting, but then when it all comes together, it's fine to have one shot with lots of chaos and the second shot with lots of chaos, but then if you kind of assemble it all, it becomes too much. So what you have to do is strip it all out and build it from scratch, and for each moment you have to find the right kind of sounds and leave the other ones out. Paul was always quite keen to kind of keep them human.